You're listening to Your Local Politics. We're your hosts, Gina Carpenter and Beth Wettengell. Beth, hey, how are you?
I'm good. I met Mike Fisher yesterday.
Oh, that's exciting.
Yes. It was a Mike Fisher Predators Foundation skeet shoot, and I got to meet him. And while I was talking, my husband walked up, and I said, hey, let me get your picture. And he was like, sure. And I took a picture of he and my husband did not return the favor, and I did not get a picture with Mike Fisher, and I'm crushed. But I think that my husband probably thought that I was going to use it for a Christmas card, and so I'm disappointed and sad.
That's not nice, but it sounds intentional.
Yeah. Yes, it does, doesn't it?
But that's cool that you got to meet him.
I did, and I got to ride in a golf cart with Ryan Johansson the whole time. He's like the fourth draft pick of the National Hockey League. He's very cool and down to earth.
He was nice then.
He was very nice. So anyway,
I love that.
Go Preds Foundation. They did put on a great event. So it's been a busy week. How about you?
Sounds like it. Yeah, I've been talking and thinking about the election, which is so fun too. I mean, it's not Mike Fisher, but
he is easy on the eyes.
Very easy on the eyes.
So
I'm jealous. I am officially jealous.
You should be. It's a lot more fun to look at Mike Fisher than to worry about the election.
It is.
Here we are.
It is super important. So we do have to talk about it because guess what? The turnout in Sumner County right now, we are in early voting, and the turnout is dismal, like worse than 4 years ago. I heard
that the polls were not busy from people that were there holding signs.
Yeah.
Sad.
Which, even the other two elections we've had since spring, because this is our third election, but early voting has been pretty slow.
So how slow has it been?
So we have maybe around 8% of our registered voters have turned out so far in these first 7 days. In 2018, at this same point of the election in 2018, we had 7,000 more voters had shown up to early vote.
Oh my gosh.
Between early voting and absentee ballots. Yeah, so I'm not sure what that means. Hopefully it just means that everybody's busy and they're still going to get out to vote because we are in early voting and that continues until November the 3rd. And then election day is November the 8th. So I know there are a lot of people who like to wait till election day. They think it's more fun. That's fine and great. I'm always afraid I'll wake up sick or something horrible will happen and I won't get to go vote. And I vote every time there's an election. So,
well, hopefully it's not indicative of how the rest of the country is turning out to vote. I hope not. Because we need a big red wave.
Absolutely.
Major way.
Yes. Please let this be just a fluke thing and people are going to get out tomorrow and vote. So yes, we are in another election, which is kind of confusing to people because we just had two elections, one in April. The election in April was the county primary. So that was for county commission. All 24 seats were up. And the odd number school board seats. So that was the primary. So that was when the Republicans all picked their candidate and the Democrats all picked their candidate. And then you fast forward to August and we had the general election for those same seats. So it was down to the single Republican candidate versus the Democrat candidate, if there was one, in the county commission and those school board seats. So that's kind of how that works. Also in August was the primary for the general we're voting in right now. So the federal and state seats. Also on this November ballot is the municipal races. So that's where you have your city councils. Hendersonville, Boma, Gallatin City Council, Goodlettsville, et cetera, et cetera. That kind of explains why we've had so many elections. They're all obviously have their own purpose. And the municipal races are not partisan. So that's why there's not been a primary for, say, Boma, Hendersonville, Boma, and Gallatin City Council. There was no primary, so no one's running under a ticket. That's why it's even more important that everybody gets out and votes because the citizens did great things on the county commission this summer and the school board. And they did great things 2 years ago on Hendersonville, Boma with removing some problem members and electing some great members. So we have to finish that. And the only way to finish that is this election. There's not going to be another chance. There's not going to be another election. This is it. So if you care about your municipal races, then it is very important that you get out and vote. Get out tomorrow.
And they're all partisan. I mean, let's not kid ourselves.
They really are.
Whatever seat they're sitting in, they're voting for their ideals. And so Yeah, just because they don't get to have an R or a D behind their name does not mean that they're going to just leave all that at the doorstep when they walk in and vote for our city's policies and contracts and all that stuff.
Exactly. Because no matter what, it matters who governs. And as citizens, we're going to look into those things anyway. And as conservatives with a podcast, we want to tell you who we support. So let's look at who is going to be on this ballot. Just to let everybody know, I will link a sample ballot in the comments in our show notes, as well as an early voting calendar, so everybody will have the resources handy. But if we just start with the high-level seats, we are talking about John Rose for U.S. House, and he has a Democrat running against him. So it's important that everybody gets out and votes for him, supports him. For governor, we have Bill Lee, who does have a Democrat opponent as well as 5 independent opponents. I'll let everybody do their research. You know if you support the governor or not. Democrats obviously hate him, and there are some Republicans who took issue with some of his decisions. But then we have 3 state house representative seats that are on the ballot. William Slater is in the new 35th district, and luckily he does not have an opponent, but he is a Republican. And then Johnny Garrett in the 45th, he's your representative, right? Yes. He also does not have an opponent. And then we have William Lambert in the 44th district, who does have a Democrat opponent. So it's extremely important that we get out and support him.
And he's fantastic.
He is.
He and Johnny both are very responsive.
They are.
Anytime that I have a question or anything like that. So
yeah, I don't know if other places in the state, if other state reps are like that, but I just feel like they're very accessible.
Yeah, I do
They're
too.
at all the GOP breakfasts, and they're at all the local events, and I just think it's great that they are accessible to the citizens. Okay, let's jump. We're not going to go through all the cities. Obviously, we don't have, people that we know in all of the different races, but the 2 big ones for us, Gallatin and Hendersonville. So let's run through the Gallatin seats first. The positions that are up is mayor. So we have Paige Brown running against Brad Jolly. So do you know Brad Jolly? Have you met him?
I haven't met him.
Okay. And you do know Paige?
Yes.
I can't say one way or another whether Brad Jolly is qualified or, would be the better mayor. And, I don't know. He was impressive at the forum in Gallatin on the square at the Palace Theater. They had a forum that I had an opportunity to hear him answer some questions, and I was impressed with him. Paige Brown's impressive as well. She's a very active and popular member of our community. The biggest concern that people voice when it comes to Paige Brown is she's the president of an organization called the Greater Nashville Regional Council. The immediate past president is Anthony Holt. That's like red flags, because there's been a lot of questionable things, under Anthony Holt.
So we're talking about Sumner County. Why is it Greater Nashville? Are we considered Greater Nashville?
Yes, we are.
We don't want to be Greater Nashville.
No, and that's
we
the
want
problem.
the great things from Nashville, but the yucky things from Nashville, they can just keep
right.
that.
So when they
are they talking about mass transit?
Yes, they have transportation plans that include things like mass transit, bus lanes, all of those things. Transportation plans and growth plans that they want to implement in our communities. And that's a problem for most of our citizens.
We like the small town.
Absolutely.
Or the middle-sized town.
Yeah.
What about all the farmlands? And are those just going to be concreted over with buildings? And
yes.
Is that the plan?
Yeah, that's the plan. House after house after house. But when you have an organization that is looking at your community and targeting certain areas of your community to develop, to put greenways through so that they can put more homes and more schools, it's disheartening.
Yeah, sounds like an invasion. And so she is the president of GNRC.
She is. And I would just suggest that people...
How does she have time to do that and be mayor full time?
I think they meet like once a month. I don't know. Who knows? But it seems like a pretty big role to play in an organization that is upsetting a lot of our Sumner County citizens.
Seems like that would be a conflict of interest.
Yeah, possibly. So that, from what I'm hearing, that's the biggest concern regarding that race. Do your homework, look into Greater Nashville Regional Council, see what you think, see how you feel about their intrusion on Sumner County.
Well, I do know that a lot of people in Sumner County and Gallatin are very, very concerned about the apartments that have been going up side by side, like hundreds and hundreds of units. And then you go a half a mile and there's another new apartment complex and then another one and another one. And it's like, when is that going to stop?
Yeah, the apartments are out of control, as well as just high density developments, like maybe 3 big ones that I can think of right off the bat in the past few years that they've rezoned and approved. So they'll definitely need a new school in Gallatin really soon, which, the new school we have in Sumner County should have been in Gallatin in the first place. That's a whole nother episode, but moving on. Okay, so in addition to the mayor seat, there's also an at-large seat those candidates are John Ruth running against Steve Fann.
And this is a city council at large.
At large. So everybody in the city gets to vote for them, kind of like they all get to vote for the mayor, but it's a council position. So I endorse John Ruth. The Sumner County Constitutional Republicans endorse these same people that I'm going to be talking about and promoting as well.
Okay.
So Steve Fann is the incumbent, and I think that there is just a whole lot of change that needs to be made in Gallatin in general. So if you're not happy with the direction Gallatin's going, then a good rule of thumb is vote out the incumbent.
I agree.
In District 3, we have Pascal Jovance running against Rick Murphy. Neither one of them are incumbents, but Rick Murphy has proudly and is honored to be endorsed by Democrats in Gallatin. So therefore, that's a no-brainer for me. Plus, Pascal's a great guy.
Wasn't he the one, there was some city council person that was trying to basically gerrymander just his specific property out of...
That is
Who
Pascal.
is that? He's up for election, right?
Unfortunately, no. That's Sean Fennell that was behind that. He's not up for re-election this time, but his buddy, Steve Fann, is. And he and Steve Fann, they've made headlines here lately. So apparently, you know where the courthouse is in Gallatin on the square. So the city was in negotiations for a piece of property near the courthouse to either expand the road or parking. I'm not sure which. I think it was to expand the road. So they were in negotiations to purchase this home. And all of a sudden, Steve Fann and Sean Fennell decided to go purchase the home themselves.
What?
Right.
Are they related?
Nope. I don't think they're in real estate either. I mean, maybe they are now.
So they basically snatched the property out from under the city of Gallatin?
Yes.
That they knew, obviously, because they are
They obviously
city council people.
did know.
That they were in negotiations to buy this property.
Yes.
That seems, shady at the very least.
Yeah.
How's that not illegal?
Yeah. So unethical for sure. Unfortunately, it's not illegal, but I guess anybody can buy anything they want. But as Paige Brown has stated, obviously they can't legally negotiate with them now. So now the city is just out. They can't purchase that land. They still need part of that land though. So my understanding is they will have to use eminent domain to take what they need from it. I've also heard that Mr. Fennell said something about, we would probably just donate that. I don't know if they thought there was going to be some deal in there for them and didn't know that it wasn't going to play out that way, or I don't know. It's just shady.
Guys. Thanks for making it a lot more complicated.
Yeah, because isn't your job as representatives of the citizens to be acting in the best interest of the citizens? Right. And wouldn't that have been to let the city purchase this land they needed? Even if you did know the homeowners, which apparently Mr. Fann did or does or whatever, maybe you could have used your knowledge and friendship of theirs to help encourage them to sell it to the city. No, I don't know. It just seems shady. We don't know all the details, but it's enough for me to say that's a good old boy move right there. And then you just mentioned what happened to Pascal. Sean Fennell was behind that as well. Another good old boy move. And this was, Pascal lives on Long Hollow. This entire area was annexed into the city years ago. Pascal and Michelle show up to meetings. They don't enjoy them coming to meetings and speaking out, so they just kind of bully them. And Pascal has complained about not getting services that they're supposed to get now that they're in the city. They should be getting city services that they don't get. So they were complaining about that, obvious for good reason.
Right.
And just at one meeting a couple of months ago, Mr. Fennell just decides that he will propose on the spot that the city de-annex Pascal's house, just his house. Like,
we need to vote out this kind of behavior.
Absolutely.
It's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing. So, we all showed up at the next meeting, filled the room, and he, of course, backed off, encouraged by Paige Brown to back off. Like, can we put this to bed? I think were her words. And, he played it off. I was just trying to help. I was just trying to be, it's what you wanted, I thought.
No.
Is that a good?
Yeah.
So, anyway, it was ridiculous.
That's a good old boy accent if I've ever heard one, Gina. Good job.
Thank you very much. It was bad.
That's pathetic. We
Yep.
need to vote out bad behaving people and
Yes.
just vote in serious people.
Yes. And Pascal's a great guy, and he's a great conservative. So we definitely support him. In District 3 in Gallatin, Ruth Fennell, no relation to Sean Fennell, for the record, and she's running against incumbent Craig Hayes. Again, vote out the incumbent. So Ruth is awesome. She's been involved for years in Sumner County and is just a great conservative, super smart, intelligent woman that will do awesome on the council.
Absolutely. She's great.
Yes. And then District 5, Bob Mayola versus John Alexander. And he, I believe, is a Democrat, and he's the incumbent. So, and he's also, I believe, been in office for like 20 years or something. And Steve Fann also been in office for decades. That's a problem as well. They're way too comfortable in those seats, I think. So Bob Mayola, great conservative guy, is a veteran. So check them out on Facebook, look at their platforms, call them up, see what you think. But those are the ones we support: John Ruth, Pascal Jovance, Ruth Fennell, and Bob Mayola. Now, let's move on to Hendersonville. We have a lot more to say about Hendersonville, I bet.
Yes, we do. Ward 1 has 2 Erics running against each other.
Yes, neither are incumbents.
No.
It's interesting. There's, only one incumbent running in Hendersonville this time, and he's a great guy.
And he's unopposed. Because he's a great guy.
Because the citizens spoke loud and clear 2 years ago with the other half of BOMA, and they weren't going away. And I guess the incumbents knew that and decided their time was done.
Right.
So they would bow out.
So in case you guys don't know it, so there's 6 wards in Hendersonville, and there are 2 aldermen in each ward. And so they alternate when they're up for re-election. So half of them were elected or re-elected or did not get re-elected
Yep.
2 years ago. And then their counterpart is up for re-election or their seats are open. So I hope that explains how that works.
Yes, the school board functions that way too. As far as the elections, they alternate. So does Gallatin, but the county commission, I believe, is the only one that doesn't. All 24 are up every 4 years. So we're on the other half of finishing the mission that we started 2 years ago to change BOMA.
And it has been running smoother, since in the last 2 years, for sure. But I think with the right people that hopefully will get elected, that it will be smooth as silk on that BOMA.
Yes,
We'll
absolutely. Yeah, they intend to listen to the citizens and not special interest or developers, which is what we've had for so many years. So, yes, Ward 1, like you said, 2 Erics. They're both great guys. I believe they are both Republicans. Eric Sittler is who I support. He ran 4 years ago, and I supported him then as well. I just do not know Eric Jackson. I haven't seen him at anything. I haven't had opportunity to speak with him. Haven't seen him at a GOP breakfast. I just, haven't seen him. I don't know him at all. But I do know Eric Sittler, so I support him. And then in Ward 2, Michael Martin, he's running unopposed. And he was very impressive at the forum.
He was.
The other day.
He has an architect background and I think a law degree. So that should probably help a lot with our capital construction projects that we've got going on. And he also brought up a great point, too, about impact fees. Specifically mentioned that an impact fee in Nashville might be $300,000, which would go to help basically the impact of a development, the traffic, maybe the schools, maybe sidewalks, that kind of thing. And how Hendersonville does not have that. Or if, I guess in comparison, he said it's like $300,000 compared to like Hendersonville would get, I think he said $3,300, something like that. I forgot the specific amount. So that's pretty eye-opening. That's revenue that our city could bring in that would help us make Hendersonville better and not have taxpayers have to front the cost of the development. So I'm interested to see how he does in his position. He, like Gina said, is running unopposed. So I don't know what his political affiliation is. Do you?
He is endorsed by the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans, and he has, been coming to the GOP breakfast. So I'm pretty certain he is a conservative.
Okay, that's great.
Yes.
That's good news.
Yes, absolutely. And then Ward 3, Jeff Sassy and Bob Garza.
I love saying that name.
That's the best last name.
Sassy.
Imagine if your last name was Sassy.
I know.
I would love that. Gina Sassy.
You are sassy.
I am short and sassy.
Maybe you can just make that your. I like tiny but mighty.
Oh, I like that. I like that too.
So yeah, I got to tell you, I've been to quite a few BOMA meetings. And just as a reminder, BOMA is Board of Mayor and Aldermen. I know that we're already talking about candidates running for alderman, but in case you don't know the lingo, BOMA is that board, our city of Hendersonville board, city council people, that kind of thing. He has always been at every single meeting that I've ever been to. I've heard him speak at that podium several times. So I know that he is very involved and he's got his mind in the game. He knows exactly what he's signing up for. He knows the issues that the city's facing. So I have no problem endorsing Jeff Sassy.
Yep, absolutely. I don't know a lot about Bob Garza. I think he's used the word conservative occasionally, but it doesn't feel like a conservative to me.
Yeah. The Hendersonville Standard came out and asked the candidates for a simple question and answer session. And so he did say that, and hang on, I wrote down his quote, "I'm a conservative when it comes to finances." So we know what that means kind of in code, right?
Yeah. I'm a fiscal conservative. That means I'm not conservative in any other way.
Right. We've got to use the word conservative because we're not going to get elected if we don't.
Right.
So, yeah, I kind of feel like he is. And I got to say, I mean, he was at the forum, the Chamber Forum on Tuesday. He's personality plus. I mean, he's very colorful. He looks like he could have just left the piano bar in Nashville and he rolled into this forum. I mean, he's a very snazzy dresser.
Yes, he is. But his last name's not Sassy.
No.
So,
That's right.
Jeff wins.
Yes, absolutely. Sassy.
And then Ward 4, Terry Goodwin, our fave.
Love Terry.
Absolutely.
Love Terry. I've known Terry since 2005. And I mean, in full transparency, I've been helping her with her campaign. I don't want to hide that fact.
That's okay. You have a right to.
Well, she has been working her tail off, and she has attended almost every single BOMA meeting for the past year and a half, which they're brutal at times. And so she's a candidate that has taken it all in and said, you know what, I'm not going to sit around and complain. I want to do something. And so she threw her hat in the ring, and so she really came about her decision to run very organically. There was not a special interest group or a group of individuals that approached her to run. I do believe that is the case with her opponent, Tracy Johannesson. But Terry's been a resident for 32 years. She is they're a first responder family. Everyone knows the Goodwins. Her husband's a police officer, her son's a police officer. She was an instructor at ILE, so she actually got to teach hundreds of kids. I think she was there for about 12 years. And so that's how I first met her. And she's been endorsed. She's been endorsed by Lee Peterson, and who's an alderman, Alderman Karen Dixon, Alderman Jim Waters, former Alderman Gerald Woodcock. She's been endorsed by the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans. So she has really made it known that, what her intentions are, and got the full support of those people. And something that a lot of people don't know about Terry, because she doesn't, toot her horn. She actually applied for a grant for the police department here in Hendersonville and was awarded $19,000.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, took it upon herself, saw the need, and that money went to buy extra AEDs, so, life-saving equipment that the police officers need. And she's been super involved. She's been involved with the Citizens Police Academy. I think that you probably have had some interaction with her with that. She was the Volunteer of the Year for them. And, I don't mean to knock her opponent at all. Tracy Johannesson seems like a really nice lady. And with her 5 years that she's been here, she's been super involved. She'll tell you very quickly about her involvement with Rotary. I think that on Tuesday, there were 5 questions maybe asked, and 3 of her responses, she had to throw in that she was, involved with a Rotary.
What's funny is when I first heard, and I know Tracy a couple of years ago, I worked with her for a little bit. She is a nice person for sure. Back then, there wasn't any interest in politics that I was aware of, but that said, when I heard that she was running, the first thing I thought was, this is because of the Rotary and certain members of the Rotary that currently sitting on the board. This is just a pick. This is the incumbents who aren't running, looking for someone to take their place, and that's what the situation was. That was my assumption.
Right.
And then I feel like everything has only proven that. Different answers that she's given and things that she's stated her experience, it really all goes back to just her involvement in these sort of social organizations, service organizations, yes. But she's never been to a BOMA meeting. I think her first one was about a month ago.
Yes, that's right. So if you can imagine pulling papers to run for alderman and never having attended one single meeting, and starting your campaign, and I guess I might need to go and see what this Board of Mayor and Alderman thing is all about. So she shows up she's been to one, and I've asked several aldermen, like, have you seen her out in the crowd? Nope. And then she shows up once. She hasn't been back there. I think they've had 2 meetings since that meeting, and she didn't come back.
Yeah. And I feel like some of the things she's answered, whether it be in the Hendersonville Standard or at that forum, shows that she doesn't really have a full grasp of what that role is anyway. So
right. And I will say this too, like I said, the Hendersonville Standard puts out these 5 questions, 6 questions, something like that, and they give you a deadline, and it's a great opportunity to tell people what your platform is, what you stand for. Some of the questions are, of course, what qualifies you to be alderman, what project would you like to see, or what service would you like to see that's not already being done. You have like 150 words roughly to answer these questions. And I will say, just comparing Terry with Tracy answered them in 1 sentence, and I think that tells you a lot. I mean, is that indicative of how she would be as mayor? As alderman, right? It's like, if you were to turn your homework in and it was a prompt and your teacher said, I need each of these questions to be answered in 150 words, and you turn in 1 sentence, what grade do you think you would get?
Right. Yep. And the teacher grading that are the citizens that have to vote for you.
Yeah.
And you have one chance to impress them with what your plans are. And
the people that encouraged her to run, or recruited her to run, however you want to say it, like, if you don't know, educate yourself, at least to answer these questions. But, the service that she would like to see, she said that she would like nighttime trash pickup.
I don't mean to laugh.
I'm being serious. It was answered in
I
one
really
sentence,
don't mean to laugh,
Gina.
but I did laugh out loud. I didn't understand. So now we need our trash people to work overnight. Like we need them to work nights
I want
for
to
traffic.
I want it. Yes.
Those things, are those connected even though? I mean, we have traffic problems and I know there's trash pickup problems. I don't think that they are related per se, and I don't think we need trash pickup at night.
Well, I mean, I do hear the trash truck, which is great because I am reminded like, oh, it's Monday. I got to get my trash out.
Right.
So I don't mind hearing it at like 9 o'clock in the morning,
Yeah.
but I don't want to hear it at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's
No,
for sure.
And who wants to, like, do the trash guys want to go work at those kind of hours?
No.
Okay.
They're probably unionized,
That's-
so
Yeah.
they're probably going to be like, yeah, that's a no.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think that there's a huge difference going back to like the attendance of a candidate that says, I'm gonna do this. I have reached this on my own. I have attended all these meetings, and it's just like it was put on my heart that it's me. I'm the person that needs to run, and then somebody that hasn't shown up. So I think that there's a huge difference between that and someone that's maybe been recruited. And I know that they recruited people because my neighbor stopped me on my walk, and this was before Tracy had pulled papers, and they were trying to get my neighbor to run. So I know they were looking actively for someone to take Steve Brown's spot. Anyway, so I feel like we've kind of covered this.
Yeah.
Enough. But Terry Goodwin.
Yeah, Terry Goodwin.
It'll be a good win.
With Terry Goodwin. Okay. Okay, Ward 5. This is another big one.
Whew.
Jana Garten against Sarah Hilton. Jana Garten is a strong conservative. She's the vice chair of the Sumner GOP. She's a business owner. Sarah Hilton is a Democrat. Like, no ifs, ands, or buts. No voted Republican once and then D once and then Republican one. No, D, 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 D. And, she's in our schools group, and she's made comments and supported certain comments in that schools group in support of things that a lot of Sumner County citizens are actually really against regarding our schools right now. So she's not hidden the fact that she's a Democrat, and Jana obviously doesn't hide the fact that she's a conservative. So that one's easy for us. Obviously, Jana Garten is the way to go.
And Ward 5 needs a conservative alderman because the other Ward 5 alderman is very, very, very liberal.
Yes.
So,
and if you remember at the forum the other day, Sarah Hilton actually stated that she had two really great aldermen right now.
yeah.
And I would disagree with that completely. She does not have two great aldermen. And if she feels that way, then that's very telling.
I agree.
Yeah.
So definitely Jana. And also Sarah mentioned that she serves on the deer committee. And per the last flyover where I guess they count deer, there's not a deer overpopulation problem. And you used to live in Ward 5, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had lots of deer in my yard all the time. I lived on the golf course and still had lots of deer in our street, in our yard, just like other wards. Unless they've just, built it so much since I left that they really have migrated off. But
they've migrated off to Ward 4. I mean, because I live in Ward 4, and it is ridiculous. I tried to take my mom dinner the other night. She lives 2 miles away, and I had to stop 3 different times on the road to let 3 herds of deer run across the road. And I come to expect it, but it's like, come on. It is crazy overpopulated in Ward 4. Major. So, I like to have an alderman that would recognize the fact that we're going to need to do something, and also stating that you've been on the deer committee, which they've been silent as the grave on this. So, I don't know. But we need to have Jana.
Absolutely.
In that spot.
And then Ward 6 is Eddie Roberson. We love Eddie.
Oh, he's the best.
He's such a great guy. He doesn't have an opponent, which is awesome. So he is the one incumbent who's running again. Everyone's happy about that. And no one bothered trying to even
Nobody's dumb enough to run against Eddie.
No.
He's the most likable guy. He really is. And he's very thoughtful in his comments. And
is.
He's kind of a peacemaker of sorts, and
He is. He's a peacemaker. He comes up with great compromises, but they're reasonable for everybody. They're not, he doesn't compromise his beliefs. He doesn't give up. He holds true to the policy and his ideology, but he somehow seems to come up with great reasonable compromises that, just like the term limits.
Yeah.
So that's going to be on our ballot for Hendersonville. So just briefly talk about the term limits, what it's going to read, and maybe a brief, tiny history.
Sure. So the term limit referendum, you either vote for or against. And so obviously I vote for term limits, but it basically states in layman's terms that if you're a candidate who wins your first election, you can have 3 terms. So up to 12 years, because each term is 4 years. And if you are an incumbent, you can get reelected for 2 more terms. So it's pretty cut and dry. It's been a long time coming. And Eddie was very adamant about getting this on the ballot this time around. It failed in December of 2019. Daryl Woodcock proposed it. It needed 2/3 of a vote to move forward, and we fell short by 1 vote. And that was back during the Gang of Seven. And some of the Gang of Seven have broken up because they didn't get reelected. Yeah. And then we're hoping to finish, well, the rest of them aren't running for reelection. So we're kind of done with that, which is great. So it's been a long ride. And I would say that I was inspired to look more into this. We have always been told through the years that Hendersonville could not have term limits because of our charter wouldn't allow it. But anyway, I was inspired to make sure that we couldn't have term limits on the ballot. So I made a few phone calls, did some research through the State Election Commission and a couple of lawyers, and lo and behold, we could do it. And I knew that Daryl Woodcock would be on board. And so, but like I said, it failed in 2019, so we didn't have it on the 2020. And then Eddie, along with some other people, picked it up, and there was still some resistance, and it was kind of like Lucy moving the goalpost this last time, but he struck a compromise. Seemed like everybody was okay with it, so here we have it. And so I would vote for term limits.
Perfect. So we're not going to get into the weeds on this, but there are 4 state constitutional amendments that will also be on the ballot. I would just encourage people to look into those. The Secretary of State, Trey Hargett, has a post and information on his website about the 4 amendments and just kind of explains what they are. And then if you want the counter viewpoint on that, you could go to Tennessee Stands. They've put some videos out that kind of talk about why they've sort of poked holes in them, in the amendments, and explain why they don't support them. So quite honestly, out of our friends, some do, some don't, some support 1 or 2 or not others. And I'm just not comfortable enough to endorse or not endorse. I'm not honestly sure what I'm going to do when I vote. I feel like if the verbiage is so that people can misinterpret them, the purpose of them, which I feel like, there's several interpretations of why these amendments are being put forth. There shouldn't be multiple interpretations, I feel like. So maybe it just needs to be tightened up. The wording needs to be tightened up, needs to be explained better before we go and just change the Constitution. So that's my thoughts. Look into it. We will link that in our show notes as well, just so that you can read up and decide for yourself. On their face, they all sound great. Johnny Garrett came to the GOP breakfast, spoke on them, and basically, yes on all of them. So that's the Republican, the state party's sort of stance, is that they're all a good thing. Again, just look into it and figure out, the people who have some concerns, what those concerns are, and if you agree with them. So there's stuff going on this weekend, isn't there?
Yes, Sumner Fest. It's on Sunday, and it's from 2 to 7 at Saunders Ferry Park, and it'll be fun. Half Batch Brewery is going to be there. And this is the event where they have the hot air balloons. But Kids Zone, it's during the Titans game. Like I said, it's Sunday, not Saturday, Sunday. So they'll have the Titans game on, and a Kids Zone, and some live music. Everybody loves live music.
Yeah.
So it should be super fun. Last time I checked their Facebook, they had over 4,000 people going.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be big.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll just wrap that up then. I feel like we've kind of talked about the difference in all the different elections, why we've had 3 since spring. Why is this our 3rd one since the spring? That's always confusing for people. So we've told you who we support. I'm going to link all different types of resources in this podcast. So a sample ballot, the information about the amendments. There's the Sumner County Constitutional Republicans have a little sort of cheat sheet that you can take in with you when you vote. You can find those at the polling locations from different candidates who are out there, but I will post a screenshot of that as well. So you could just take a screenshot on your phone. Those endorsed candidates by that organization are the same ones that we also agree with and endorse. So I think all the information will be there. Feel free to come to our Facebook page and weigh in on any of this information. Maybe you want to talk about the amendments. Give us your thoughts on those and help voters decide what to do on that.
And go vote.
Yes, please go vote. It's so important. With this dismal turnout, we can't make change. And we're on a roll, making change and doing what's in the best interest of citizens and having good representation. Let's finish that.
Yep, let's keep
in
it
these
going.
city races as well. Well, thank you for listening. As always, we invite you to visit our website, yourlocalpolitics.com, and subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.